The sinking of the Titanic is to date the greatest tragedy ever to have occurred at sea. In April 1912, everything was ready for its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York. The Titanic was an impressive ship that would sail the waters of the Atlantic Ocean with thousands of people on board. It first docked in Cherbourg to pick up more passengers and then in Queenstown before heading out to sea towards New York. The first 3 days of the voyage went smoothly. But tragedy struck on the 4th day. Despite the fact that the Titanic had received 5 warnings that there was ice, Captain Edward Smith decided not to slow down and continue the journey. In the end, the ocean liner hit an iceberg, a large mass of ice in the middle of the ocean, and sank. It did not hit head-on because, as soon as they saw it, when it was too late, those at the helm tried to turn. They did not hit the Titanic head-on, but the ice tore through one of the sides of the ship and water began to rush in, gradually flooding all the rooms of the ship. It took less than 3 hours for it to sink. Although they called for help from other ships, the closest one told them it would take 4 hours to arrive. In the end, a total of 1,512 people died. But how was the Titanic built? The company White Star Line commissioned the work. It was the largest and most luxurious ship that had ever existed, and its construction was announced with great fanfare in all the newspapers. They said it was an unsinkable ship. The bad thing was that the ship did not have enough lifeboats, and those that were used when the Titanic began to sink were not fully occupied. Among other things, because people were distributed according to social class and, in many cases, the rich passengers did not want to share a boat with the poorest. The behavior of the ship's captain was also heavily criticized. It was said that she had kept the ship's speed very high despite the poor sailing conditions, and that she had ignored the ice warnings. In the following years there were many attempts to find the remains of the Titanic. In 1985, an expedition discovered the famous ship and took the first photograph of the Titanic after 73 years at the bottom of the ocean. Curiously, the remains of the Titanic are still visible today and many of them are preserved almost intact, which has led scientists and researchers to dive into the mysterious world of the ocean just to discover more and more about the Titanic and try to explore each of its corners. But the great depth at which it is located makes the work difficult. Currently there are companies that even make a trip to the bottom of the sea for tourism with super advanced submarines capable of resisting the pressure of the sea at such depth. Remember that knowledge is power. Do not forget to subscribe to continue seeing more interesting stories every day and practicing your English.